Asma, seasoned sports journalist, but also writer. And he's seen it all, lived in the United States, elsewhere in the UK, has practiced in Ghana. So it's somebody who has great experience in the industry, is here to talk to us on the current impasse, the scandal, the Kwesi Nyantakyi scandal that has hit Ghana football. But good morning to you, Eko.
Good morning.
Yeah. And as always, it's as if it's been a perception, a speculation that has been rife in the public discourse for a long time. Just came to a head yesterday.
Yes, and it's very well timed, I think. In the, dating back last month, we've had a series of these announcements. Remember, President Nana Addo suspending the deputy sports minister over the visa scandal, and subsequently the board chairman of the NSA and the NSA head. So this seems to be a theme with the current president, in line with his vow of his administration being anchored in the rule of law. So it's very refreshing.
Well, before we go on to the issue about the personality, Nyantakyi, the way he's ruled or governed the association, etc., and has made entry into Ghana football, I've always had this knowledge, I don't know whether it's right or wrong, about how the Football Association is untouchable because of what FIFA says. How do we put that into perspective before we begin the conversation?
That has been the perception, but it's not untouchable. I mean, the FIFA itself was touched.
Well, we know that, but...
Yes, so it doesn't make it untouchable. That was the perception up until FIFA itself was touched, and Sepp Blatter, former president, got eventually booted out of office in disgrace and all that. So all notions of the football community and football officialdom being untouchable is just out of the window.
Okay, now let's get to the real issues. If somebody is said to be in that persona of Kwesi Nyantakyi, having been in football for a long time, he's likely going to have people make approaches to him and say, we want you to influence things for us. That should not be wrong, should it?
Well, he's become a magnet for such nefarious things, because if you remember, even dating back 4 years ago with the commission of inquiry into how the Black Stars messed up in Brazil and all that, at the sudden he had to say he was sorry for his stewardship over the public purse given to him for disbursement to certain officials of the FA, and has ever since not been able to account for it, And there was an issue of allegation of trying to throw a friendly match, reported by the Telegraph and Channel.
Yeah, the Telegraph.
Yes. So, I mean, he's been a magnet for such dubious stories. And it wouldn't happen to typically people that don't have that reputation. If whatever you have, that's what you draw, So if you are seen to be somebody that can be influenced, approaches will be made to you. Of course, nobody will be beyond temptation. Even the Lord Jesus himself was tempted, So, but just if you have the fear of the Lord with you, you shouldn't really be bothered by temptations. I mean, we are human, we are fallible, but if you have a certain proclivity, then it gives people the notion that, oh, well, at least we can influence this person, we know his track record and all that. So, we all have presumption of innocence, but nobody also gets the benefit of doubt. If you have that as your inclination, you won't necessarily suspect somebody and you won't give anybody benefit of doubt. It's possible he may have done this, and up until the law takes its full course, we have to suspend judgment on the degree of his complicity in this new charge.
Well, we all know that there was a press conference that was called by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Abu Jenapo, and we just bring you an insight into all that had transpired. Then we'll come back and do the discussions.
The President of the Republic has had the benefit of viewing aspects of this investigative piece. And in this documentary, the President of the Ghana Football Association, Mr. Kwesi Nyantakyi, is supposedly saying, attempting to use the President's name and that of the Vice President and other senior officials of government to induce supposed potential investors into our country to part with various sums of monies. The president, as a responsible citizen, and indeed and in fact and more particularly as the chief custodian of our laws and enforcer of our laws, has had to consult and evaluate the content of this investigative piece. The president, after these consultations, is fully satisfied that a prima facie basis has been established for criminal investigations to be launched into the conduct of the president.
Well, so you can see snippets of quotes were told that could be found in the video. And ultimately, when it's premiered, all those who will get to watch it will get to find some of these quotes. And this one, for example, also being shared not only on social media, but mainstream media, reads, "The Ghana is the easiest place to do business. All you have to do is to give the president of Ghana $5 million US and the vice president some $3 million US. I have the president in my pocket. I see him every day. As for refs, all you need is give them some 20 Ghana cedis and girls, and they are sorted." And it's all a quote attributed to the president of the Ghana Football Association. And we're told that he's not in, but he has become a big persona on Ghana football.
Yeah.
What would have been some of the actions and inactions, whether on-field actions, whether from players or administrative actions taken by him and his administration, that may have fueled this perception that he has a very dogged persona?
He has presided over an association that has been given to being surreptitious and scandalous. And over this span of 12 years, this is December 30th will be his 13th year. So given that, since he is presiding over such an association, he doesn't get the benefit of doubt. And when there was reference to referees, he's on record as having asked referees to take bribes. And this is the credibility of this person in question. So it's not surprising that the issue of referees even came in. He's on record as having asked referees to take bribes. And you think that in any law-abiding jurisdiction, that itself will be cause for some serious ethical questioning by even the ethics of the GFA. So for somebody like that with that kind of reputation, he never even denied it. You can't give him benefit of doubt at all that he may have said something, especially the part about the referees. I don't know about the others, I haven't heard it, but I wouldn't doubt that he said that about the referees because he's on record as having said that. There have been all kinds of issues regarding the transparency of the association. Even the latest example being that last week there was a headline sponsor for the FA, and the media has been blacked out of the details. That even some clubs, I understand, even yesterday, that they've been told a different story after having been told that there was an agency fee for 7.5%, and then yesterday an official of the FA says, well, no, that wasn't the case. They're very secretive, now giving to transparency. Well, if you have nothing to hide, why are you leaving things in the shade? So that has been the character of the association he has presided over for the past 12 years. So that's why he's always regarded in that light, that there's some kind of shady underhand businesses that the FA has transacted over the course of the time he's been in office, especially concerning the national teams. The sponsorship for the national teams are all shrouded in secrecy. Even ESCO members don't know what's in the contract except him. So he really has earned this reputation, quote unquote, of being shady, underhand, and all that.
Now, for you to come to this point, it also means that we also have to take a look at perhaps his contributions to Ghana football, because since he became Football Association boss, we've been to the World Cup 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've produced some great players over the period.
Yeah, well, Before he became president of the FA, the stadia was getting packed. The stadia all over the country were getting packed. Over a course of time, nobody even wants to go to the stadia. The percentages have dropped.
Why should that be his fault?
Well, he's going to get the credit and not the debit. Is that the case now? He has presided over football for 12 years. So whatever has happened over the course of the 12 years, he gets it, the plus and the minuses. Same way. So Ghana went to the World Cup 3 times, and he gets the credit. Well, the debit, who should take it? You should know that it's because of the political will of our heads of state over the course of that time. Otherwise, we wouldn't even go. But for the determination of the, in the first instance, President Akufo, that we're going to make it, the state provided resources. And if you read the white paper directives, it states clearly how we were able to manage to go. You know, so we shouldn't just give him all the credit. You should credit those presidents too during his tenure, President Akufo, the late President Mills, and President Mahama, for having the political will, because the state can decide at any point to withdraw from all international competitions. You understand? So even though we're only talking football, there's an element of politics and the investment of the people's money, the public purse. So he can get the credit. If we go by the principle of giving him all the credit, then we should go by the same principle and give him all the debit. So he's played his part, but since the past 4 years, it's been down, down, down. Now he's really managed to push Ghana football into the underground. It really is at a bad place right now. So, and his stewardship would not help Ghana. His continued stewardship of Ghana football would not help Ghana at all. It's hurt Ghana a lot. We need to take a turn in the different direction, and this may be the final straw that would help Ghana usher us into a new regime and turning Ghana football around. Because really, if we get more of the same, we're going to get even far worse results.
Well, the question is, if he's presided over Ghana football over the last 12 years, and that perception is rife, he has his men and his colleagues and henchmen he's worked with, and there's no other person who can plug in except the same people. So I don't know how a change being called for could be that change that is being looked for.
It's great. We have an opportunity to do reforms. For instance, the state can decide to withdraw from all competitions for the next 2 years and clean house. There are certain basic regulations that ought to be changed in order for Ghana football to get a turnaround.
Like what?
For instance, currently, if you don't own a club or affiliated with a football club, you cannot be a member of the FA. That should change, because some of the decisions that have been taken have been influenced by the helmsmen. For instance, at some point I had a program with a former GALCA vice president. GALCA is the Ghana League Clubs Association.
Yeah, sure.
And we were on air, on TV, and he was saying that what if and there's an issue involving the club of the president of the FA, Kwesi Nyantakyi, and what if there's an issue with a club of another person? He had to adjudicate, then he wouldn't be able to do it because it's his boss. You see the conflict? So, and certain decisions at the disciplinary committee.
Okay, so it means that he owns a club?
He does. Because per their constitution, if you don't own a club, you can't be a member of the FA. It's a clear conflict of interest issue.
And you're saying that's a far departure from what happens in the more developed economies?
Yes.
Or the more developed football countries?
Yes. Especially the integrity of some of these officials and the competence.
In England, what happens?
In England, it's not to this extent because the rule of law reigns. Over here is the rule of fraud in our football community. Downright. I mean, a clear example is 2 years ago when a current member of the ESCO had to go to Court of Arbitration for Sports in order to get justice. You wouldn't get justice here. It's justice for sale. In Ghana, football, if you don't have money, you won't get justice. And to the point that even the officials officiating the games are asked to take bribe. It's dirty. So we need an overhaul, and we need to change that constitution requiring folks to own a club in order to be part of the FA. That ought to be struck out, and it can only be done at the Congress. And until we withdraw completely from football and take serious stringent measures to clean house, we'll get more of the same results, really.
At what point or in what way should a state act, and I'm talking government, act, that would not be deemed to be interference too much in a football association that largely is accountable to the World Football Governing Body?
Well, as I suggested, we can pull out of, the easiest way out is we can pull out of all international football matches for the next 2 years. Or the helmsmen that have been found culpable, or that may be found culpable, we subject them to the full course of and rigors of the law. And then there will be a ban. That was the worst case scenario. And then we endure the ban. I mean, Nigeria did it. And Nigeria football is better off now than Ghana. A case in point, we are now going to the World Cup now because of the hierarchy of the FA. They decided to choose getting personal gain from friendly match over the interest of the state, where Ghana was supposed to play in its first World Cup Russia 2018 qualifier at Tamale. Now, the state is given the option of playing between Friday and Sunday. Now, the FA chose Friday instead of Sunday because the following Tuesday, they had already scheduled an international friendly against South Africa. So they wanted to play Ghana's match on Friday early enough so they could go to South Africa and go play the friendly.
Because that's what the money was.
Exactly. And they don't account to the public that money. And you see, the Black Stars is state property. You would think that, you know, if you're leveraging on that brand, that you even give back to society. Nothing. It's for their stewardship of Ghana football that they get money from FIFA. FIFA gives associations around the world $1.2 million every year.
Really?
Exactly. For pitches, for women's football, administration and all that.
And in Ghana, is that invested in the communities?
Well, there's no discernible evidence. So what they do with that money? Yeah, it's because of their stewardship of Ghana football that they get this money. Every year, $1.2 million. What do you do with the money? What's the state of Ghana football now? Did they put it back into football? No. And yet, in spite of all that, because of greed, they're still shortchanging the Ghanaian people by choosing their personal gain over national gain. And because of that, now we're not going to go to the World Cup. Because of these same helmsmen. And it's presided over by the same Christian entity. So, I mean, for how long should we look the other way? You know, it's been long suffering for most football fanatics.
Okay. So you've talked about stadiums are not for Accra Sports Stadium.
Nothing.
Big deal. But we have grassroots football. We have talents that are...
Since when? It's evaporated over the course of the stewardship.
Why would you draw that conclusion?
Oh, but the evidence is clear. We don't have any...
You mean we don't have a pool of talents coming through
we
a well-laid structure as we have it?
We don't have...
by the Football Association?
We don't have the coast football we used to have before he...
That's one Chendi, futsal. It's not every country that... If you go to Britain, they don't have...
they have grassroots football. They do have grassroots football. And that's why sometimes we need the state to intervene, because the sports secretary over there gave an ultimatum to the football authorities to reform or they'll cut funding. And since they reformed, guess what? England has been world champion at under 20, under 17. And even European champions at the under 21. So you see, the state also has a part to play in this, in giving ultimatum to the FA, the reform or will cut funding. And the easiest way to hit the FA is where it comes to money. If they can't make any leverage off the national team, then they won't be interested. Their only interest is the Benjamins. That's the bottom line for this current FA.
Prior to now, there were speculations that the latest Tiger Eye investigative piece led by Anas was basically on football administration in Ghana, where it had or not publicly sanctioned or published by the mainstream media comments by non-football people, administrators, that they were not afraid that whatever it was, it should be brought on.
Yeah, even the FA president himself has been quoted as saying that even last year, that he would welcome an investigation by Anas into the affairs of the football community to sanitize it. So, I mean, kudos to the Tiger Eye production crew, kudos to Anas Arimriao. Anas, I think if we had a journalist of his caliber in every media house, Ghana would be far better off, far better off. This is a clear indication and a clear lesson to the youth to learn that it doesn't pay to indulge in nefarious activities and underhand dealings.
We have Nanajiman. Nanajiman is a coach and also a football commentator. He's an analyst and a consultant. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. Are you still in Ghana?
Of course, I am.
But I mean, you have been, Akufo-Addo is here, but you've also been one of the critics of the Football Association, the way football has been conducted and administered in our country over the last decade. You're surprised at the turn of events?
Well, let me just correct you. It's more than the last decade. And your question is in order as to whether or not I'm in Ghana, because when you've been ostracized, then tend to keep quiet, because at the end of the day, you've got to feed your family. And if being a constructive critic locks the doors in front of your face to various opportunities, then you have to keep quiet and start thinking about being able to feed your family. And that's why you probably haven't been hearing from me for a while. But surprise, really. I think on your own network, you've had Countryman Songo saying a lot about these type of activities, and a lot has been done to ostracize him as well, and that's probably why he's no longer with your network. It's not a surprise because...
Well, officially he is. I don't know what you mean by... He's just not on air.
Well, okay. Well, you, for reasons best known to yourself, but for people like us who are outside, we consider that it's a result of the pressure, the mounting pressure that's been placed on your network because of the things that he says on his show. I may be wrong, I may be right, but I'm not the only one with that perception. You know, they always say 99 days for the thief and then 1 day for the master. So, you know, no matter what secrets we hold as individuals, it will come out one day, whether we are alive to see it ourselves or we've been called by the Almighty to do other things. So it's not been any surprise. And to be honest with you, for the last month or so, when snippets started to come out and various colleagues had the privilege of viewing the video, there's been so much talk about it. And on a daily basis, there's been little snippets here and there that, you know, begin to provide more clarity in the situation. Yesterday's announcement, well, that was a surprise to me because I knew there would be an announcement, but I was reliably informed that that would happen after the 6th of June. So that did surprise me somewhat.
But how did we get here?
Well, that's a long story and it's very complex, you see, because one of the things, you know, as a Ghanaian born outside, one of the things I've observed is that we pay homage to older people. No disrespect to older people. Older people are afraid to join the mainstream because older people don't want them in there because they want to stay there until they die. And so younger people staying on the outside and throwing stones really taking action, but they've been paying homage. They've been paying homage, and so young people they've not been involved. They've not been involved. And the system is not allowing young people to involve. And I'm hoping now, see fresh people get involved. The talent is out there. People want to get involved. People want to do things. But when we shut them out on the basis that, oh, you're a small boy, and they actually believe that they're a small boy, then, you know, the wheel can't turn.
Yeah.
It just begins to be the same old thing, day in, day out, day in, day out. This is part of the reason of how we got here.
Right. Akufo-Addo, who is here with me and helping me do the discussion, seems to have some radical contributions as to how we can bring a change. Now, he says, or is advocating, we amend the rules. For example, that says that unless you own a club, you can be a member of the FA, you can be an administrator, etc., or aligned to a club and all that. How do we change the basics and get it right, and perhaps try to replicate what is done elsewhere?
Well, younger people have got to be involved with the clubs, and the statutes say you've got to be involved in the club for 2 years. before you can stand for any position as such. So they've got to be involved in the club as administrators and whatnot, and they've got to be trained if they don't have the requisite skills. It's all about acquiring the knowledge required to take on the various roles that you've got to undertake to run a football club. You know, people have got to be trained, that they're willing to be trained, and then they're participating in whatever respective club it is. Then they can throw their hat in the ring and contest for executive committee. But until they do that, that change won't come. If you look at the last 15 years, you know, the football has been dominated by a lot of older people. And that needs to change. But the younger people can't just come in as lay people just like that. They must be trained appropriately, acquire the requisite skills, and then come in, apply themselves to the club, get familiar with the statutes of how the Ghana Football Association governs football in this country. And once they become versed with that, and on a day-to-day basis they're applying themselves diligently, then they can contest. Then they can throw their hat in the ring. That's what it takes. And it doesn't take very long. It doesn't take very long. But that's what we need. That is what we need. I don't think that's radical, but that is what we need. But it's not a mad rush. Just because this has happened, it doesn't mean there should be a mad rush through the gates to get involved with what happens. We see them be a sincerity and a genuinity of involvement, because, you know, your integrity and your reputation will always be at stake.
All right.
And
okay, Najma, just be on the line if you can. We have been joined by Martin Kpebu. Martin Kpebu is a well-known, well-drilled legal practitioner. Good morning to you, Mr. Kpebu.
Yes, morning, Roland. Morning.
And if you hear the speculations, and now we have, let's say, a concrete confirmation by the Deputy Chief of Staff following that press conference, etc. We're told that an incident in the video, especially involving the GFA, may have happened outside the country and all that. How do we posit all this in law within our jurisdiction, so to speak? As in, can we prosecute? What actions could be taken, etc.? So to speak, on a hypothetical situation.
Oh, okay. Good. So basically, because we haven't watched it, so it says hypothetically. Right. So in that case, it gives a very complex scenario then, because in the first place, we haven't seen it be able to say definitely that this looks like a case of defrauding by false pretenses, you say. And also, the fact that it did take place outside the jurisdiction is also one that really is going to raise a very serious legal challenge, because to the extent that he wasn't within the jurisdiction, he's not a public officer. So that's really a long shot. You see? Yes, yes. Because I didn't say it earlier, that looking at this Yankees thing, knowing who he is, he will get the best legal talent in the country to defend this case. So I think that it looks like a fairy tale, but let's see what we can get out of it. So at this stage, it's good that we are all being cautious, and we even said that's a hypothetical case. Yes, because the police are yet to investigate. Because you know that for these matters, there are two sides to a coin. So the police would have to investigate, then we would know for sure what it is, whether this is a joke or
well, Mr. Kpebu, on hindsight, we've had some replication of such incidents following the probes by FIFA, in which actions were taken by the FBI of the USA. They had made incursions into Switzerland. The headquarters of the FBI had great collaborations. So I'm thinking in my lay mind, just a normal journalist, I'm thinking that if the states and state actors want to take actions to procure evidence that will be admissible in court, then they would go the length of time to do what they have to do.
Yes, good. But detect. You see, the FIFA incident, or let's say the FIFA case, was done by the FBI, as you rightly put it, state actors. So this case, if you look at it in light of the Supreme Court decisions that are beginning to define the parameters of a person's privacy and the public interest in crime prevention, what will happen is that my sense of the matter is that this one would be a test case, because obviously Mr. Nyantichi would get the best legal base to defend him. So this is going to be a test case because, people have raised concerns that Anas, not being a public security officer, should not be allowed to continue with this private form of investigation, this form of secretly recording people. So I believe that this is going to be a very bloody fight, and at the end of the day, it will help to develop the law for us, so that it will be clear to us whether we can continue to have such investigative journalism. Because later,
well,
do the same thing. Yes, hello, Roland.
Yeah, but I just wanted to add, we've had precedent in history, people not being public officers, law enforcement agents. We've had the Watergate scandal, a number of scandals across the U.S. and elsewhere in the developed world, which have compelled, because of the public value of what those investigations or the investigations have been, to take actions. But as you perhaps we think about that, the GFA, isn't it a public institution?
No,
okay.
The GFA is set up as a guarantee company. That is what makes it. When we say guarantee company, the commonest example is an NGO. It's the NGO. So that's a guarantee company. So by the Constitution, you're a public officer if you are paid with funds from the consolidated fund. You see, consolidated fund or other government revenue. So as far as I'm aware, the GFA is not paid with government from the consolidated fund. You see, so for now, that is what we'll be looking at. You see, as you mentioned about Watergate scandal, yes, about Watergate scandal and those things, the difference is that, let's say, even the same security apparatus can engage Anas that, okay, do this for us. So it's a collaboration between them. It's a joint effort.
Okay.
Then we'll be sure that, okay, people will not raise questions about his capacity. That's why, remember, I'm not saying that he cannot continue to do that work. No. What I'm saying is that those raising the challenge is because they're trying to follow the school of thought that it's the public security officers who should have the right to do secret recording in this manner.
Okay. All right.
Let's say that, Roland, if you let's distinguish the two. Let's say that if you were in an altercation with somebody, you see a crime being committed. Oh, that one, as a citizen, if you just see you chance upon it and you film, that's different from a situation where you go and interview or seek to talk to people to see about whether they are willing to commit a crime. So those who are talking against this recording are basically saying that it sounds in entrapment. It's like you're entrapping the people to plan or commit a crime, then you record them. But as I said, let the fight go on. We will see how we'll get a clearer decision.
All right. Martin Pebu, a legal practitioner. Thanks for your contribution this morning. Nana Jumai, you're on?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yes, I'm still here.
Okay, so which one is better? Somebody's reputation gets soiled, and so as a result of that, we use that as a premise to do an overhaul. Because we may end up not getting proper indictments at the courts, for which we could have some prosecution, hypothetically. But that would still mean that the integrity of the person occupying the position, again hypothetically of the GFA, could be dented in such a way that he will be compelled to go off power, not contest an election, and then we'll have a proper overhaul of the system. Is that where we're getting to, or could get to?
Well, you know, we're probably even getting beyond that, because for me, if it was me, I would have to resign with that type of pending investigation over my head.
Black African leaders don't resign. Forget about that. Can we just talk about how they can fight while they are in office? So just please mainstream the issues.
No, well, I think I'm being realistic, because I think for what I know, for what I myself know about what is contained in the investigation, I think the best thing to preserve integrity would be to resign, because of the allegations that are now being made and the further information that is contained within the video. I think it would be best. That's how I would deal with it. Because yes, I would have to prove my innocence, but how could I manage football in the country with that type of investigation above my head? How would my executive committee relate to me? How would the other football administrators relate to me? How would the general public also relate to me? You know, I would have to consider those things. And I think I would maintain my integrity while I fight to prove my innocence if I step back from the position. And if you look at how things go anyway, civil servants and even ministers, when something comes up in principle like this, they step back from the position. We have a similar position now with the Commonwealth Games. What has happened? The president of the country has asked the deputy minister to step back from his position while the investigation takes place. And that investigation is ongoing. It's a simple principle to be applied. So I think there's nothing wrong with it being applied here, because obviously, as the lawyer said, he will get the best brains to defend him. Why will he get the best brains to defend him? Because he believes he is innocent of what he is being alleged against him. So on that basis, why can't he step back from the position and deal with that issue? Because I don't think he will have the capacity to deal with the allegations and also manage football. Because in the twinkle of an eye, the media has turned against him. In the twinkle of an eye, all of Ghana, who a few weeks ago he said, Ghanaians love me, have turned against him. So what are the options available for him? But I think the bigger thing is about the integrity of our game. It's about the integrity of African football, because this goes beyond Ghana. This is no longer about Ghana anymore. Ghana is the catalyst. Ghana was where the spark came from. But this stretches into other countries. It stretches to other officials, be it match officials, the like, and other administrators. It's not just about Ghana anymore. This stretches throughout the WAFL, where it appears to me from what I have been informed that even the WAFL that we won here on own soil, it was a 50. Do you understand? It was a 50. Do you understand? So, and we had different match officials from different countries involved in that WAFL. It wasn't just our referees. They came from other countries. So this goes beyond Ghana.
Okay.
We need serious introspection, because Ghana is under scrutiny. African football is now under scrutiny. So there's some serious ramifications.
All right.
To what is coming out now. So it's not just about Ghana. So
Okay.
let's have a look at the bigger picture also.
Well, thank you very much. But it's good that we took you out of exile, because you nearly turned a recluse. And Nanajiman, I've been on this football issue with him, I think, over the last 12 years, and he's always had a problem with the way we administer football in our country. Nanajiman is a football coach, is a consultant, but also how's the Ramadan going though?
Oh, the Ramadan is fine. Alhamdulillah.
Shukran. Mashallah. 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 Please have a good time. And we know that you make more commentary on mainstream media throughout the rest of the day. Yeah? Have a good morning. But he's the vice president of CAF?
Yes, first vice president.
First vice.
An executive committee member of the World Governing Football.
FIFA?
Yes.
What does it mean? Well, not necessarily. If, let's say, he goes through, he can still maintain those positions, can't he?
Well, if he doesn't go to jail. You can't be acting in these positions if you're in jail.
No.
So
we're not judging him. So
no,
there's
I'm
no
not
jail
saying.
matter
I'm
here.
just saying, addressing the question. If he's
That's
in jail,
hypothetical.
if he's in jail, he can, or if he's indicted, I'm sure the CAF and
Well, let's say a personality like that is indicted, but then ultimately he's not guilty at the end of the day. He could
if he's
still-
not guilty, of course, this process would actually help him if he's not guilty. He's been framed, he's not guilty, people have an agenda against him and all that, and he comes out victorious. Of course, it would even propel his career, go as far as becoming a future FIFA president.
I see.
You know, I want to touch quickly on what the lawyer was saying. That people have reservations about some of the methods of tiger eye production and all that. Well, whatever he's gathered over the course of the body of his work, have they been admissible in court? The evidence he's had?
Well, I think the last one, the one with the judges,
Yeah.
we're told that he was assisting the state agencies.
Yeah, but I'm saying...
So the President of the Republic had given support.
Yes, so the evidence that gathered, and we know his body work, the body of work. Have those works been admissible in court?
Yes, some of them have been.
Yeah, so why are people saying that why should he be... You know, it's like people we like crooked people in our society. We do. It's such a very bad negative trait of Ghanaians. People say, oh, well, why is he doing that? Well, what about the perpetrators?
Why do they do what they do?
Why? Yeah. What do you? Well, if you're clean and somebody's trying to set you up, even the Lord Jesus was set up. You know, you could be tempted, but if you're straight with the Lord, you come up. We are not infallible, I admit, but to question why would Tiger Eye Productions resort to the underhand methods they use? Well, have their evidence been admissible in court? So far, the evidence suggests that they are the right-minded people in society. Are they doing something to help society? Is it a good thing for society? Yes. Why would you have any reservations about something that would be good for society? Remember, Tiger Eye Production and all that, they are not above the law. They're also working and operating within the remits of the law. So if you're within bounds of the law, what's your problem? Now, this is my response to all those folks that have issues with Tiger Eye.
Apart from those folks, you're also speaking as a lawyer. You know, the lawyer, they like to
let me remind you, the president of the land was a lawyer, distinguished lawyer, attorney general of the state. You think he doesn't know the remits and bounds of the law? You know, so that's why I asked, have the Tiger Eye Productions body of work and the evidence they produced so far been admissible in court over the course of time? Have they acted in contravention with the laws? If no, then really, please.
We have not been talking
please, that is cacophony. All that is cacophony.
Cacophony.
Yes, if it's within the bounds and remits of the law, what's your problem?
What we get for cacophony?
It's just too much unnecessary noise.
It's baloney.
I wouldn't go there.
All right, thank you, Ekwa-Asma. And always we can get you on your blog.
Yes, ekwa-asmasports.com.
Okay, ekwa-asmasports.com. Thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you very much.
It's been a great delight speaking to you. And we've had great education. We've spoken to legal practitioner Martin Pebu and also coach consultant and social commentator and somebody who loves football in Ghana. And Anaijima and Ekwa-Asma also has been with us.